White House says that he used the ESPN appearance to also tell people to donate to Japan relief. You know, that's how they answered the question today. What about the style of kind of handing things over and having others lead? Healthcare handed over the keys to Capitol Hill, doing so pretty much on the budget negotiations right now. Wants the UN to pass the no-fly zone before the U.S. leads on it. And there's a number of different indications, Charles, that that's how this White House likes to operate.
Well, being a squish, I'll give him a pass on the bracketology. You know, whether he does the brackets or not on ESPN, what matters is what does he do in the hour before? Does he announce a policy on Libya? I don't believe that it is a matter of personality and that he's naturally passive. I mean, you can argue that he voted present, you know, dozens of times when he was younger in Illinois. When it comes to domestic policy, I think he's got the passivity has a logic. The reason I think he's passive on the budget now is his strategy is to win re-election by having the Republicans walk the plank and make the proposal for cuts, which he will now demagogue all the way to Election Day. That is it's an active strategy, but it starts by being rope-a-dope and letting the Republicans act first. It isn't that he's being passive out of some kind of laziness or a personality flaw. But on Libya and on the rest of the Middle East, I think it's ideological. This is a guy from all the speeches he made early on, when he made them in Turkey, when he made his speeches in Cairo. This is a guy who is coming from the mentality of the West, has always acted in a colonial way. He said this, incidentally, in his speech at the UN, and thus it has to be extra careful about intruding itself. Remember, the most egregious example of how passive he was during the Iranian revolt of 2009, and that was an example where the values of the United States and the strategic interests were entirely parallel and coincident, and he did nothing. In fact, he actually acted in actuality as somebody who was helping to give legitimacy to this horrible regime. Why is that? He actually said so at one point. Because of our intervention 58 years ago in the coup in Iran. In other words, always reacting to a sense that as a member, a leader of the West, they should be extremely circumspect and passive in dealing with the third world because of guilt and all the bad stuff that the West had done. And that's where it comes from.
Yet, Steve, when there was